Just like to say hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. Appreciate you coming and learning more about Overwatch, meeting a pro player. Andres here has played a lot of Overwatch, is really good at the game. He was a coach in our last season, and he's here to talk to you all today.
Man, I am fired up. Fired up, baby. It's like we got a new season started. We got a pro coach on the line. I can't wait. Thanks everybody for joining. And let's kick it off.
Yeah, absolutely. So first, let's start with the basics. So for Overwatch is one of my favorite games. So for those of you who are new, let's first talk, Andres, a little bit, if we can explain exactly what Overwatch is for those who are new here.
Sure. Well, hi everyone. It's very nice to be here. Um, and it's very nice to be talking to everyone, especially about such a fun game like Overwatch. Well, Overwatch at the end of the day, it's a mix of two different games, right? It's a MOBA and an FPS. And MOBA is, they have tanks and supports and damage heroes, and we see Overwatch is such a unique and very different game from any others because they mix these two games so well. And you haven't seen any game like it. And yeah, and that's pretty much at the end of the day, in a nutshell, that's kind of what Overwatch is.
Yeah, and generally, what are teams trying to compete for? What are they trying to do on the different maps?
They're just trying to get an objective. Usually, they have different maps, sort of like escort, which have like a payload, and they got to get one objective from one end to the other just by kind of standing on it. There are defenders, attackers. The attackers try to get that objective to the other side of the map, or let's say it's an assault type of map, like a 2CP. They try to capture two different points, and they try to, in King of the Hill, they try to capture about three different points in three different maps. And defenders, of course, they do what they do, and they try to stop the attackers from doing that. And that is an Overwatch, since there are so many different characters and different roles, they can choose from all these different characters and try to find the best way to either defend or attack the objective.
Awesome. Yeah, great explanation. And I do want to just interject here and say to everybody who is attending, we are, after this segment, we are going to have an open Q&A segment. So if at any point during this presentation you have any questions, please post it in the Q&A chat down below. You'll be able to submit a question and we'll go all through them at the end. But in the meantime, let's learn a little bit more about Andres. If you could tell me, what was your peak SR?
Wow, my peak SR was an exact 4,500. That would be, I think, in Overwatch, it goes, the skill rating goes from 1 to 5,000. 5,000 being the maximum you can be. 4,000 was, it kind of, so if I'm not mistaken, I think 3,500 is like Masters, 4,000 is like Grandmaster, and then after a certain amount, I think depending on how many people are playing in the server, you reach top 500, which normally would be about 4,300 maybe. And right here on the screen, there's a picture of me in the top 500. I think at that point I was the top 143. And then the other picture right there at the bottom under the highlight, that is I was the #1 Roadhog player in the world at one point for about a couple seasons.
Andre, #1? Dude, how many people are like how many people are in the world playing Overwatch that you were #1?
Rich, what are there, like millions of people playing this game?
Yeah, there's a lot. I'm trying to see if there's a percentage on the image here, but it's got to be like 0.05% or something. Very top.
Wow, that is just phenomenal. And Andres, you're going to be coaching for us this year with Epic Esports and our whole stuff.
I might be sort of like a head coach position, which I'm kind of be more of like an admin, so I'll be kind of watching over the other coaches as well for Overwatch.
So you're coaching the coaches to make sure your expertise kind of, gets there, and so Andres, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
how fun is it for you to be making a living and making money at like video games?
Alan, it's a dream, to be honest with you. I never thought I'd sit here and tell anybody that I'm making money off of playing video games and doing esports. It's really funny because at first my my parents were like, no, there's no way, and I showed them that otherwise, I put my mind to something and I can make it. So
That's phenomenal. And so obviously Overwatch still has seats available in our Epic Esports program. So anybody who hasn't joined or anybody who has any friends that still want to join, getting ready to start up next week. So we still are taking all comers from Epic. And then that is amazing. Amazing.
yeah, it's really fun. Overwatch is really fun. I would say it's like Rich said, it's one of our favorite video games we like to play. I think it's this the team setting of Overwatch is so fantastic, in which like I know we'll talk about later, but it's all about trusting your teammates, and really developing that sort of community, and really you know um being making friends, and that's kind of like the best part about it, honestly.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and we are going to talk more about it later on. But in Overwatch, especially, just the team aspect really, really shines, which is why I believe it's one of the best educational esports, as we'll learn, because there's a lot of skills to be gained from Overwatch. But going and continuing with some of your past play, Andres, what's the highest profile gamer that you faced, and how did you do?
So the highest profile gamer that I faced, they come in two different. So I played against streamers like Tim the Tapman. Um, he was really fun to play with and against, because he's a very very fun person to kind of be around, as everybody knows pretty Tim. And yeah, I played with like Moon and Lyric. I know some people know Lyric is a pretty popular streamer as well. And I played also with professionals like Sinatra, Seagull, Raucus, Adia from the Overwatch League. And I like to say I did pretty good against them and with them. It's a really fun experience to play with people who do this for a living, because the communication is different, almost the atmosphere is different as well. So you'll be going into a game, right? And then like we have a couple, very high rated players, not very known. And on the other team, you have someone like Seagull queuing up with like another professional support or something. So it kind of makes you go like, okay, maybe I gotta try a little harder now, or maybe I gotta really put turn my monitor on, as the kids say, right? And yeah, it was fun. A fun little story. Raucus, who played in the how do you say that, in the Houston Outlaws for the Overwatch League. We were playing really late at night once, and I was playing Roadhog. He was playing Tracer, and I landed one of the craziest hooks of my entire life on him. And he typed in the chat, he's like, "Okay, I don't want to play anymore." But I wish I could find that video, but maybe one day I'll bring it up. But it was really fun to play with someone like that. It was great.
That's when you know it's a good hook, right?
Yeah, traveled across space and time.
Right. Did you play most of these players like in through on competitive, right? You were highly ranked, so you just queued into them a lot,
Yeah,
type of
so
situation?
yeah, so most of the time I play with them in ranked, very very high level ranked, and actually played against a couple of professionals. Like, I don't know if you guys know J3, in a scrimmage setting as well.
Very nice. Cool. And so what do all of these players, in your opinion, have in common? So what makes for an elite Overwatch player?
It's a combination of a lot of things, Rich. There's communication, which is one of the most important things in Overwatch. I like to always stress communication, because there's nothing like being able to know what your teammates are seeing, what your teammates are doing, and maybe your teammate might call out something that you might not know about, and then now and now the rest of the team knows, and that could be an enemy's position, or that could be it could be an enemy's cooldown. Maybe you just saw somebody use a certain ability, and now you know that you can get maybe a little bit more aggressive, or maybe you know that someone is holding an ultimate or someone is holding a certain ability, and you can be a little bit more defensive rather than aggressive. There's game sense. There's understanding the game from its core to how um, you know how advanced it could be, right? And understanding how the game works from um, just from rock paper scissors to from a more of a situational kind of aspect, right? And there's determination. There's someone who doesn't stop playing, someone who knows when what their limits are, and someone who knows when to keep going and how to keep going. I talk a lot about when I coach, I talk a lot about autopiloting, and playing is great and everything, but there's also you need to kind of focus on what you got to do, right? And there's always should be a goal in mind. There should always be something you got to be working for, because if we're just playing, if we're just autopiloting, we're not really learning much, right? And of course, there's sportsmanship. There's being a there's nothing that makes a professional player like just being a genuine joy to be around, right? I guess that's the best I can say. Like no one likes a sore loser, right? Or no one likes a sore winner as well. Um, so I would say sportsmanship is one of the most important things an elite player in Overwatch could definitely have.
Yeah, and I great answer. And I think that talking about game sense is something that's really important and key, because a lot of players, right, they only focus on their mechanics and their aim. They want to make sure they hit all their shots. And yes, that is very important, especially when you get up to the higher levels. But in terms of game sense or just understanding what's happening in the match at the current moment and how you can best affect it as your team, that's something that's a little bit harder maybe to train. How might you coach somebody who's trying to improve their game sense?
I would say, kind of hop into a game like maybe a quick play game or something that doesn't have too many like stakes. And I would go into it with just the mindset of trying to understand your situation, right? Because that's when you should understand when to use your abilities, right? So let's look at kind of like let's talk about Winston. I want to talk about Winston a little bit. You're a main tank, right? You don't necessarily need to aim so much. That's one of the characters that you don't really need a lot of technical skill with. You kind of need more of a game sense, because Winston is so important as a character that to initialize, engagements and to make space for your team. But you don't really need that technical aspect when it comes to like aiming and everything. So I would say kind of hop into a quick play and kind of understand what the timing is, when to really go in and use those abilities, and to when to get out as well, right? Because also a very important thing about Overwatch is staying alive, and you being alive, that means you have numbers. And if you lose someone from your team and the other team has numbers, that could just result in a really bad snowball.
Awesome. Yeah. And terms like snowball and all that stuff, we talk
Hmm.
about that more in the upcoming program. So make sure that you're enrolled and you've completed your welcome survey. We talk a lot about what Andres is going into here. So more on your background. When did you actually start playing Overwatch, and what made you to decide to move to coaching?
Oh, that's a great question. I started playing the game when it came out in May 2016. And a really funny story about that. I hadn't played the beta, and I hadn't even heard of the game at all, Rich. I haven't even heard of Overwatch. I didn't know what it was, and I didn't know that it was even a game until one of my friends was like, "Hey, I have an extra copy of Overwatch. Do you want it?" And I was like, "Sure. That sounds like fun." and
Little did
and
you know.
little did I know that it would change my life completely. Um, and yeah, that's how I started playing. I started playing very casually. I played only Tracer for a little bit, and then somebody was like, "Why don't you play tank? I heard Roadhog's kind of fun," and and I did. I played Roadhog, and I played a lot of Roadhog, and then I started playing competitive, and I really loved it. It was really fun. I liked the competitive aspect of it, and I continued playing. And after a long time, I played for a very very long time. I played for until like, well, I still play till this day, of course. But then they released a lot of different patches in which I couldn't unfortunately keep up, but I did understand the game very, very well, and that's why I transitioned into a coaching role.
Nice. Yeah. And here are some ancient photos of
Oh
Overwatch.
yeah.
I love that these are here. On the left, you can see Symmetra is still a support. On the right, you have the mass Mercy Res, right?
Oh yeah.
Um, so,
Mercy would be able to come in and res about the entire team within like two
right.
seconds. You're like, oh my god.
For those of you who do play Overwatch and know, if you know Mercy's ability to res an individual target, it used to be on their ultimate ability, and they can res all the targets that were in a certain area within her. So she could literally fly into a lost team fight and pick everyone back up, and everyone has a second life, right? So that was a big meta defining character at the time.
Oh yeah.
And speaking of some metas, since you've been a player for a very long time and
Hmm.
through evolving metas, what was one of your favorite metas in Overwatch,
Man,
and
my
why?
favorite meta of all time, and you know what? I might get a lot of I like dive. I really loved dive. I thought dive was one of the most fun metas because it was so chaotic, but in the best way. It was organized but chaotic in the same way, and it was really really great. We had a lot of team building exercises in the teams that we were doing, in which we would kind of go into a training mode, and it was all six of us like diving one target over and over and over, and it was really fun. I really like the whole, the environment of everybody's just having a really fun time. You can tell everybody's just having a great time. Like dive was just that kind of meta in which like we would be able to jump and everyone was had this energy. Everyone had this energy. Everyone was super focused. Everyone's having a good time, and you can definitely tell in everyone's voices. Since we always had to be communicating when it compare it to something like, let's say, triple tank, right? Although I enjoy triple tank because I got to play Roadhog and maybe sometimes Diva, back when she was really good. The atmosphere, although still fun, it's just a little different because it's a little slower. You're playing more tanks rather than any offensive heroes. So yeah, I really love dive. Dive was really fun. And I really like that you can still play dive till this day. Which is really cool. Dive is still very viable. I like that Overwatch is at a point where you can kind of play any composition only depending on the map, and I think that's what's really really exciting. And I think that's what Overwatch at a really good spot is right now.
Awesome. Yeah. And did you play Genji in the dive comps?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
I was a Genji player, but I did a transition to the off tank role, so I did a lot of Diva as well.
Very cool. Awesome. So next up, we're going to ask about some of your professional play. So did you take part in any of the professional leagues? If so, which ones?
Yeah, so very early on, before the Overwatch League was, the top tier of Overwatch, there was Apex. Overwatch Apex was a small tournament that was ran, not a small tournament, it was the biggest tournament at that time. Powered by Intel, all the bigger kind of teams were going there, and I think like somewhere even the finals were held in Korea as well as Apex, season 1, 2, and 3. And I actually had the luxury and shall I say a blessing. I always say I'm very blessed, to be, playing like this for really big leagues and stuff. Um, yeah, I had the great opportunity to play in Apex. I played a lot of like different teams like Selfless at the time who were running like Sinatra and like Emong, if anybody knows who Emong is. And I played also against if I'm not mistaken, it was a French team that was running it down. Rogue at that time had the French player like Soon and all those different players. So we had a really good time playing them. It was a lot of very good experience at that time. I was playing for I don't know if you guys have heard of Renegades at that time. I had tried out for them, and I got to around to being the off tank for the first season of Apex. We didn't get very far, but we did get a lot of experience, and it was a very humbling opportunity because we knew that although we thought we were going in, very strong, very like very like we're gonna do this. Although we came out not with that result, we came out with a lot of experience, and we said, we have a lot of improvement to do, and that's what we did. We got back to the grind. And then I got around to playing in Overwatch Contenders as well, season 0 and 1, and I did a little bit of Open Division as well.
Hey, Andres, I have a question for you. So, when you play against international teams, is there anything that, like the cultural difference, does it affect in any either way they play against you or you play against them or things like that?
I wouldn't necessarily say there's anything that much of a difference. So, they were just known to be as one of like the best teams around, and luckily for us, they were actually in the U.S. At that point. So we were playing in LAN, in person. So, it was, we do approach it a little bit differently as well. We want to make sure that we're respectful to the team, no matter where they're from. And we always got to make sure we have that sportsmanship, and we always say that GG, the good game. We make sure we come out as friendly as possible, of course.
Great, great. And that's what I love about your contribution to our program, and yours too, Richie, is that it's, sportsmanship, non-toxic gaming, respect. Like these are really important aspects that we're always cultivating throughout. And the two of you are to be saluted for the way that you really uphold our standard of excellence on that front.
Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. Actually, going back to the question that Alan just had, Andres,
Sure.
did you actually find that sometimes different places in the world had different ideas about the meta? So I believe that, like, because oftentimes teams in the same region would often practice against each other, right? In scrims, they would have maybe different ideas about the meta from one another. So did you, maybe not a cultural difference, but just like being in different groups of scrim partners, you evolve different gameplay tactics? Did you see that happening?
Oh yeah, it was very interesting to see the different countries play. We had about 2 South Korean teams. We had that French team, and we could tell that it was very different. The South Korean teams were definitely playing each other. I think at that point, for some reason, Soldier 76 was played a lot by the South Koreans. We were like, that's so weird, because in North America, we tend to not like Soldier 76 for a lot of reasons. We prefer other hit scans like McCree at that point. I think was more used in Soldier 76. So yeah, and then obviously the French team was really a joy to play against, because they were playing this really fast-paced dive with a Pharah Mercy, I remember. And
cool.
wow, it was really hard to go against that, because we got that, we had to go like double hit scan. We tried to go against that, and they kept switching it up against us. And I noticed that as well. The North American teams would not switch that much. They would kind of stick to their team, and that's it. That's what they practice. While I think Rogue was always switching it up on us, and it was really, we were always on our feet, always on our feet.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, great insight there. Thank you, Andres. That's always super interesting to me.
Oh yeah.
But our next question is is what role did you play, and what are your favorite heroes? We kind of touched on it earlier, but if maybe a little bit of elaboration.
Yeah, definitely. So I actually started off playing damage, the DPS role. I really like to play Genji and Tracer, and McCree. They were my favorite heroes at that time. But I realized that maybe other people were better for the damage role, because just the way I was playing D.Va and the way I was playing Roadhog, it was getting noticed by other people compared to my the damage plays. So I switched completely, transitioned to an off-tank role where I played D.Va, Zarya, and Roadhog primarily. I would sometimes play main tank, but not really all the time. So I played mostly D.Va and Zarya were my most played heroes. Roadhog is an off-tank, but as we know, Roadhog does not really fit in a lot of different team compositions. Unfortunately, because he is he is my favorite hero of all time, my favorite hero. And everybody knows that, who knows me. But unfortunately, he doesn't fit in a lot of team compositions. So I was playing a lot of D.Va and Zarya, but that doesn't mean that I didn't have fun. I really like to play D.Va. I think D.Va is one of the most interesting tanks, interestingly designed tanks I've ever seen. Someone has a lot of mobility, someone that has an ability to, actually shut down projectiles, which is absolutely wild to think about. But that's what makes Diva a great hero at the end of the day, and that's why we played her. It's very good for peeling for supports that need help. Peeling, for those of you who don't know, is kind of helping out somebody when they're in trouble. Um, and yeah, and my favorite heroes to play are Genji, and my favorite heroes are Genji and Roadhog. When I want to have fun, I play Genji and Roadhog. When I want to play really seriously, I get on that Diva and Zarya.
Nice. Awesome. I have a one small question around
Yeah.
this, and maybe it's silly, but something that I've noticed is that a lot of coaches, at least our coaches, at least three of them were tank players, right? Wyatt, Gorkman, yourself. You guys all sort of main tank. Why did you think, is that sort of something common that you see with coaches, or is it just sort of a coincidence?
So it's actually something common I see because like I feel like you as a tank player, you kind of understand that. I mean, I don't mean to, bring anybody else down like a support player or a damage player, but if you're a tank player, you really got to understand the game a little bit more in depth than like if you play damage. Like, yeah, you got to understand the game in a very differently than a tank player would understand it. A tank is someone who's in the front, who needs to, if your tank is failing, the team is failing. If it's really really hard to come across a tank that really kind of knows what they're doing. So yeah, I would say it's kind of like something that we see often. Tanks are usually go into coaching roles because I feel like we kind of understand the game a little bit differently than everyone else.
Yeah, maybe it goes back to that game sense idea that we were talking about earlier.
Oh yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Let's go on. What are the most important aspects of team-based Overwatch?
Well, the most important aspects team-based Overwatch, of course, I would say the number one thing is being able to trust your teammates, right? It's so important to really understand how, like what your teammates are doing, and excuse me, and how to trust them and for you to make this play. I always say this to all my students, a bad plan that everyone follows is better than a good plan that nobody follows. And that's all subjective, of course, but like once you trust your teammates and you do things together, things happen and things will work. And that's what's really awesome about Overwatch. It's just like how you come together as a team really will swing your situation in your favor. And you could be down three people, and maybe the last three people just have this plan, and they're all like, they're like, okay, let's work together to swing this situation completely in our favor, and it can happen, and it will happen, and we've seen it happen a million times. Like in Overwatch League, one of the New York, one of my favorite teams, managed to come back from this crazy deficit, and all with like three players, like one support and one damage and one tank, and all they were just waiting for their teammates to come back. But they played so well as a team together that they managed to actually hold back six people, and that's really impressive.
Yeah, the coordination and collaboration that you see in Overwatch, and this is something that we kind of mentioned earlier. It's sort of unparalleled. I want to say it's just very, your teams need to really work together. We in our program we call it the Megazord, right?
Yes.
Where like as individuals you might be strong, but it's when you have the individuals that come together into one cohesive unit, that's when you really have an unstoppable robot or team or what have you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
100%. And, in Overwatch, there, how we have the ultimate abilities there. I love to encourage um, teammates trying to coordinate their ultimates together, because what's really cool about Overwatch is that some ultimates really combine very well. They go very well with each other. And, just having that kind of dynamic with your teammates is really great. If you guys work well together, these ultimates will work well together. And, you can get a team wipe off of just two ultimates. And that's it. Not even, that's what's really cool about Overwatch. You can just combine all these different things and this different abilities, and just from you and your teammates being able to trust each other, and this confidence that you guys give each other, it's really it's amazing, and it does work.
Yeah, and Andres, you actually coached the winning team from our
I did.
program last year, right?
Correct. The Savage
And
7.
that's right. Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, but some of those players were pretty new to Overwatch when they started the season, right?
Correct.
Do you think that it was sort of just a matter of them working so cohesively together that led to how well they were doing?
100%. I think they worked so well together. And that's what ended up getting them the win at the end of the day. You could see it in their plays. I know I always stressed communication with them. I said, you guys have to communicate, and that's what we have to do. We have to understand, just kind of like what I said here, we got to know how, when, and what to communicate. We got to know when not to communicate. And we got to understand, when to keep these comms clear so like the rest of the teammates can also kind of know what's going on. So I think they communicated very well, and I think that they were able to get every situation, whether winning or losing, to swing in their favor because they worked very well together.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you, Andreas. Our next question here is, what life lessons and skills have you learned from gaming, or specifically the game Overwatch?
Yeah, I've learned to be humble. That's one thing. We all start out, right? Like I was saying, like my team and I, we went into Apex 2016 with this really strong mentality of, we're gonna take this, we're gonna do this. We've been winning every scrim game, and it's good to have that confidence. It really is. But we went into it and we kind of underestimated every team, and then we kind of we lost a couple of those games. We had to understand a little bit. We gotta be a little bit more humble here. We gotta understand that we also need improvement at the end of the day. And yeah, that's helped me out. In every aspect of life. I understand that even at work and with my family, even like I gotta be humble. I gotta have that sportsmanship, that patience I have, in the games. Even like funny stories. Even this game has helped me with my reaction time, where I would like drop something in the kitchen. I'd be like, "Why?" And I'll like grab something real quick.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, it's also very important. Like right here in the picture on the left side, the Dennis Hawelka Award is one of my, um, uh, you know, in the Overwatch League, they award this award to somebody who's just positive, somebody who's a joy to be around, and that's really cool. Someone like the Overwatch League awarding people for for being just having good sportsmanship, being humble, and just being a good teammate. And I think that's really cool, and I really think that Overwatch does encourage that behavior as well.
Yeah, that was a great final point that you make there as well. The sportsmanship aspect of it, right? If being a good person, right, goes beyond just in the game, that's a life skill. And it's also, if you're not a pleasure to play with and be around, then you won't have teammates. You won't have the cooperation, coordination. So, being humble and good sportsmanship, those are key elements for life as well as gaming.
100%.
And so, how important is communication in Overwatch? I think that's something that we mentioned in terms of the team-based Overwatch skills. But specifically, what might be some things that you're communicating in the game?
Yeah, the communication at the end of the day, in every game, it's so important, right? It's without communication, how are we gonna get anything through, right? Excuse me. How are we gonna get anything through, right? Let's talk like Rocket League, how we saw it like on Monday, right? We need that communication because we need to know where enemies are and everything. But I would say Overwatch is so specific in communication that there is even like right here on the right side, there's this mic check, right? This Overwatch League does mic check, and which is like really cool, but you get to hear the comms at kind of these professional players who are playing currently, and they're so important that people really love to watch this. People really analyze the way they calm certain things. And I one thing I always tell my students, having good communications is like having eyes everywhere, all over the map, right? And if you're not communicating, then you're completely blind. You can only see what you can see, right, as your player. But if someone else is telling you there's an enemy on this side, then you, as that one player, you understand that there is someone else over there, basically giving you eyes all over the map. and kind of understanding where everything is, just kind of how I said earlier. With that communication, you can understand how to get aggressive, maybe how to get a little bit more defensive even. Maybe one of your teammates needs help, or maybe you shouldn't go in the front this time, right? And that's what's really great. So different. Every game is so different in Overwatch. Like it's just so fun. And calming things like what cooldowns, ultimates, right? Even calming like your own ultimates, like, oh, I'm very close to this ultimate, maybe you guys can get aggressive. Or maybe I'm very close to my Winston ultimate, let's say, and I can go in and I can pop it and come right back, so don't worry about me, right? So supports can focus healing on maybe more damage heroes, so maybe the off tank. And yeah, it's very important having good communication in Overwatch.
Yeah,
Andres, I
you
have a question.
go
Oh,
ahead.
I'm sorry, Richie.
No, go
Yeah,
ahead,
my
man.
question was just so learning to communicate well in Overwatch, does it transfer over to areas of your life, like in a way outside of the game, that it's maybe enhanced your skills on that front?
Yeah, 100%. I've actually learned to be more accurate when it comes to communicating anything I have to communicate. Let's say, I guess for example, if I'm talking to my parents, right, and maybe I say something, I try to make sure that I'm accurate when I communicate certain things. And even then, like and even then sometimes my parents, like, they won't get it, or but like I try to communicate as much as I can, and I know what, obviously, what not to communicate sometimes. But yeah, it definitely transfers over to real life, and any communication I have to do with pretty much anyone, and even work, right? I talk to Rich. I make sure I communicate everything I can, to you, to anyone who I'm working with, and to just make sure that kind of where I am and what I'm doing, and try to be as transparent as possible.
Yeah, I like the comment on like clarity and preciseness,
Mhm.
right? Something you'll get at low level Overwatch, right? He's over there.
Yeah.
Who's over there? Where's there? And then it's like you have five people that have to ask the question, and then you have the back and forth. Rather than if you're just clear and precise up front, then the McCree is back right of point, right? Being precise gets the information there quickly, and you don't have to have a back and forth conversation there.
Mhm.
And Andres, you actually mentioned earlier the tracking of ults, which is
Ooh.
actually like a communication position, maybe like a role on a team. Can you talk a little bit more about some of the other communication roles that
Yeah.
students might be learning about in the Pathway Esports program?
Yeah, definitely. So there's obviously a lot of different roles within Overwatch, and one of them is an ultimate tracker, and that's usually a support player that normally maybe they're playing Lucio or maybe another off support, someone who really tries to try to track the ultimates of the enemy team, right? Kind of understanding where they're at, and that's just someone who has a lot of game sense, who kind of understands how the ultimates they build up, right? Because some build up by damage, some build up by overtime. I think all of them do overtime. Some build up by healing, even like supports. If you notice somebody who's healing a little more than normal, you maybe they're closer to the ultimate. Maybe you're seeing a lot of I don't know, maybe somebody else come up in the kill feed a lot, like maybe Genji's killing a lot of people, getting those dash resets, and that does a lot of percentage towards the ultimate. So somebody like an ultimate tracker can sit there and understand, like, hey, maybe we should save that beat because that blade is coming. I know he's been really eliminating all of us. So and then there's other roles, kind of like an IGL, my favorite role. An IGL is someone who sort of like it's an in-game leader. That is the leader of your team, right? That's someone who creates the plan, someone you should trust 100%. Um, Someone who's like, hey, maybe let's not go in. We're kind of going back. Someone who understands the game so well to the point where they can they can have the trust of the team, and they can make these calls, these really important decisions. And to their team, every decision that they make is the right one, and that's the one they should be going for. Um, yeah, um, that's about two roles I can think of. Maybe there's another one, a scout. I think we were talking about. someone like a DPS player, a damage player, like someone playing Genji or maybe Tracer. Somebody can go in the back and kind of understand what are they playing with. A Corbin IGL means in-game leader. And also a scout is someone who can check in the back, maybe like, oh, check, oh, they're running a Roadhog this time, so I can go back and get that information and be like, hey, I just thought Roadhog, so maybe we should switch out of these characters. So
yeah, awesome. And having those sort of roles planned a little bit ahead of time can help teams coordinate more so, and yeah, clean up that communication,
right,
keep it
kind of
precise.
like have each player will have a responsibility, a small job that is within the team that everybody has to do that job in order to get to where they need to get.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So our next question here is about analysis. So how important is reflection and goal setting when trying to get better at Overwatch or participate in productive gaming?
So as we were talking about earlier, right? You want to get from that bronze to grandmaster, right? You need to understand where you are not necessarily failing in, but where you need to improve in. And that is the first step in a very long process that you as a player need to take right away, because I know it's hard to look at what you do and try to oh, I do that great, but this works, right? But like sometimes even if things work, it might not be the right thing to do. So, what I like to do is that I like to hop into even a competitive game, even if it's a high stakes game. I really want to improve at the end of the day. There's no such thing as losing, right? You're always learning, whether you win or not, you're always learning from any game that you play. So, understanding reflection, right? Kind of like, oh, I did this wrong, and how do I fix it? Is that kind of mindset you should have almost all the time. And even till this day, I played a lot of Overwatch and I still have a lot of improvement to do. And then that's just the truth. There's still things that I need to look at. And, even professional players will tell you the same thing. I was watching a stream the other day and they're like, wow, that's something I'm not good at and I genuinely want to improve in. And then in the next game, that's something that they focus on. Having a goal, right? Setting that goal, understanding like maybe this time I shouldn't focus on a support. Maybe I want to focus on the damage because this damage player has just been, tearing it up. And I feel like if we kind of.
All right, so we're back. Sorry for that, everyone. Yep, we're gonna jump back into it, and we have a couple more questions, and then we're gonna get to the Q&A portion. Once again, please do put in some Q&A questions if you're wondering anything about Overwatch or have some questions for Andres. We'll get to that section in a moment.
It was Sombra. Sombra hacked our Zoom. So
yep, Sombra got her ultimate,
and see it on the screen here. That's what happened. So no worries. Yeah, we blame it on Sombra. Throw it under the bus here. But yeah, I was kind of saying, like till this day, I still find myself even wanting to improve in certain other aspects. Like, although I would say my communication is pretty well, I could say I could still improve it. I could still improve everything that it is, that it comes down to all the aspects that it is from Overwatch. Like till this day, I still get on that aim lab. I get my aim training in because you got to warm up. It's also very good to stretch beforehand. Every time I get on that computer, I make sure I get my hand stretches in, my back stretches in, because I am going to be here most likely for a couple hours playing this video game. And, it's good to be healthy while doing that. But it's so important that reflection in, because if you're going into a game and, you're just, I don't know, you're going in to get the win and that's about it. And then that's good. That's not bad. But it's really good to improve from every game and every single game that you play. No matter if you think, you're the best, there's always something that is there to, for you to improve. So, keep a goal in mind, stick to it, and let's not autopilot. That's one of the biggest things that I like to tell all my students. Autopiloting, it's not good, although you might be winning, you might be doing getting that SR, get that elo, you having a goal and sticking to it and understanding it is much more important than winning. That's improving is very, very important, and you can see that in your gameplay when you do stick to that.
Nice. Thank you. Yep. You win or you learn, right?
That's right.
Awesome. So our last question is what are some exciting career opportunities that you see are becoming available in the world of esports?
Ooh, I love that, you see, because right now esports is so amazing where it's at right now. It's so big, and there are so many different career opportunities available. Uh, let's say you can be a content creator, like a Twitch streamer. Yeah, Rip the Shock. Shout outs to a real one, the Shock. But there's if he being a content creator, someone who posts YouTube videos, someone who, I mean, even just makes funny YouTube videos. It's really important to the community to have somebody to lighten up the mood sometimes, because some of the matches can get real tough and the losses can get real rough. And streaming, also streaming is very fun as well. It's very good content creation. Streaming, having a community, and finding other people that love the game as much as you do is so amazing to really see that someone who has the same passion. And usually when two people have the same passion, beautiful things come out of it. And that's the truth. Look at Rich and I, man. We have so much passion for esports, and we're making this work, and that's just really amazing. And there's also coaching. Coaching is fantastic. On the right side here is the main coach of the Los Angeles Gladiators, who's been nothing but a coach, and he's fantastic. I've heard interviews with him talking about how he sees Overwatch, and it's so important, and so like eye opening, mind opening to see the way someone who really hasn't played the game so much, they will understand the game so much. And it's really great. Yeah, Jacksepticeye is really fun on YouTube. It's really fun stuff. Then there's being a caster is one of my favorite things. Being a caster, it's really fun. I love to interact, and I love to get real energetic. And that's what I love about games at the end of the day, because a lot of people think that, oh, video games, you can sit in a chair all day. No, we can make it super energetic. We can have that energy, have that environment, and have that fun. And being a caster, one of them is super fun as well, because I have that really awesome, really energetic like energy. There's event hosting and event organizing and everything. It's really fun. I was a tournament organizer for a couple Smash tournaments as well, and along with Overwatch tournaments. It's really fun to make sure you as a player, you go to a tournament expecting the best of the best, right? To make sure that it's managed well, and being a good event hosting host, it's very good for because then people will come back, and people will understand that you care for the game, and you understand the game to a point where you know how to seed, and you know how to do all of that. And having a great tournament at the end of the day really helps a lot of people as well.
Yeah, and our final matches, our final events last year were all broadcasted, and we had shoutcasters, casters, all that good stuff. So very exciting. I hope that students enjoyed that last year and are looking forward to the final events in this upcoming year as well. All right, and that brings us to the end. So we have a few minutes here. So if anybody has questions for Jaws, myself, or Alan, feel free to post them in the Q&A. We do have one already here for you. Jaws, Gavin's wondering, what is your main, and what is the hardest counter to your main?
That is an easy one. So right now when I play Overwatch, I like to play Genji. He is the most fun character for me, but obviously the hardest counter would be a nice Brigitte on the other team to shield bash me until I don't want to play. But yes, that is my favorite. What is your main, Rich? Who do you play when you play Overwatch?
Back when I played competitively, I played a lot of Pharah.
Nice.
So I was always a little bit sad when everyone switched to McCree, Widow.
Hitscan.
Yeah. By the time we get to second point or whatever, their DPS both changed to hit scan, and that was always fun. My other sort of main is Symmetra.
Nice.
and there's no counters to Symmetra. It's impossible. So it's absolutely impossible. So yeah, that's why I like that one. Okay, cool.
Nice.
Devin's wondering if we have Twitch. We do have a Pathway Esports Twitch account.
Yes.
You could find us there, and you could find the past matches if you want to watch the tournaments from last year. Feel free to look for our Pathway Esports. It's twitch.tv/Pathway Esports. And you could find our tournament events there.
Yes, sir.
Corbin's wondering, what Overwatch League team would you join if someone lived in Oklahoma? I don't think there's an Oklahoma team, is there?
No, I don't think so. We could have like an Oklahoma Thunder team for for the Overwatch League. That would be fun.
There you go, Corbin. You should make your own Oklahoma team.
I'll join.
Yeah, we'll get it started. Get you guys into the Overwatch League. Caden's wondering if Jaws Pog will be back as an emote in our Discord.
Absolutely.
I can confirm that is one that I use a lot. So yep, Jaws Pog will be back. Hopefully our Jaws bot will be back as well.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out
to Jaws bot.
Why is Overwatch called Overwatch? I'm not sure, Susan. Do you know, Jaws?
I think it's due to the lore, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not entirely sure why exactly it is called Overwatch, but I think if you would like to look into the lore a little bit more of the game, if you go into YouTube and type in Overwatch cinematics, you can find some really, really cool animations that Blizzard has done that expand the universe a lot more.
Yeah, they're the heroes that watch over us, right?
Mhm.
Something like that. What communication app does the Overwatch League use?
I think they use Discord. Yes, they still use Discord till this day. Yep,
Discord's a good one. Do you guys think Reinhardt and Reaper are hard to deal with?
Oh yeah, when used correctly, if Reaper takes advantage of a good Reinhardt, Reinhardt can take a lot of space with a shield, and Reaper can just go to town. And that's what's really good about again, I'm gonna keep saying this because I love to say it. I think Overwatch is so different from every game because you can make everything work, and as long as you execute it correctly with communication and with understanding your teammates, you can make it work.
Yep. Reinhardt makes space with his shield, and Reaper makes space with his body and his primary fire.
That's right. Yeah. His main goal is to get those eliminations.
That's right.
That is true.
And I think that is all really that we have time for today. I do want to thank everybody for joining and taking part, asking questions. We hope you're excited and enrolled for the upcoming season. Just a quick reminder, if you're not enrolled, please talk to your Epic teacher. They can get you enrolled on SpendBridge. If you are enrolled, make sure that you have completed the welcome survey in your welcome email package. Check your emails, complete the survey, and attend our kickoff webinar happening next Monday, October the 18th. So some key dates. If you have any problems, feel free to reach out to us and we can get you sorted.
That's great. Really looking forward to it. Andres, that was fantastic. Very, I learned a lot, and it just sort of really good energy in all this right here. And you can see that through the chats and so forth, there's a lot of people that are big fans of this right here.
Definitely.
So it should be a great year.
Oh, it's definitely. It's 100% going to be. All our coaches, we have all that same energy. We want to go in, we want to make this a fun experience, and at the same time as competitive as possible.
Absolutely. Thanks again, everyone who came. We look forward to an awesome season. Game on.
All right. Thanks,
Bye,
everybody.
everyone.